Hey gardeners! Amy here with Garden Up. It's winter, it's cold outside, so I'm snuggled up in my blanket with some good books, and today I want to do a review on one of my favorite vegetable gardening books. I think you'll really like this. Today we're going to review the Timber Press Guide to Vegetable Gardening in the Mountain States by Mary Ann Newcomer. Before I get into this book specifically, I want to say that this is one of 7 books in this series published by Timber Press that covers all of the United States and most of southern Canada. So no matter what region you're in, you will find an edition for your area. And I will talk more about Timber Press towards the end of the video. So a little bit about me. I've been gardening professionally for 15 years. Before that, I have taken 4 years of formal education in gardening specifically. I have an associate's degree in landscape and turf management, and before that, been gardening since childhood with grandma and mom and, all the older ladies. So the reason I picked up this book originally is I had at the time been professionally flower gardening for about almost 10 years, but I hadn't ever tried my own vegetable garden. And so I wanted to expand into vegetable gardening. And the first book I picked up was this edition, the Vegetable Gardening for the Pacific Northwest. And this was my first experience of realizing that the Pacific Northwest is not the same as the Inland Northwest. So to learn from my mistake, please. I got a few pages in and realized that my area is not covered by this little map. But I still read the book because I wanted to learn the vegetable gardening and how to do it, and the book was phenomenal. And I learned a lot from it the first time I read through this edition. And then it was a couple years later, I found this one, and I was in heaven. Hallelujah! Because now the timelines are correct to my area. So let's talk about the pros of the book. So it's simple, it's great for beginners, there's enough information to get you started and carry you all the way through your first year. I love that these books are specific to each region. A lot of vegetable gardening books can be overwhelming. They have all the information that you need to grow every vegetable anywhere. So this book is very specific and mindful to the climate of each area. And it takes out a lot of the fluff and the questions that you'd have, especially if you're just getting started. This book has a 3-part layout, which is really easy to follow. The first section, Gardening 101, talks about all the basics that you'd need to know. It is rather basic, but there are some really good tidbits in here about specific regions. It has some really great project ideas in this section, as well as talking about pest management and just in general what you need to know to grow your garden. The second section is my favorite part, which is the 12-month guide with specific to-do items. I love charts and graphs and to-do lists. I thrive on to-do lists. Give me a checklist, right, and I'll get it done. That is what this book is a checklist for each month, the tasks that you should be doing in your garden. And it's broken up by the different zones. And another big takeaway for me was the planting and harvesting chart in the 3rd section of the book. It's one of the first pages in the last section. I remember my grandmothers sowing their vegetables, and I remember them harvesting their vegetables. I don't remember them sowing and harvesting twice, and I don't remember when they did each of those things. So I had this unrealistic expectation of sowing my seeds in the spring and then continually harvesting all summer long, and that was the end of it. And that's one of the reasons that I failed so badly the first time I tried vegetable gardening on my own. And so this chart really helped me break down and have a more realistic expectation of when to plant, when to harvest, and when to replant so that you can keep getting a harvest all summer. That was an incredibly helpful chart that I absolutely loved. Okay, so the 4th pro I have, in my opinion, is the charts. I absolutely love how everything's laid out so well and easy to understand, easy to read charts, and it breaks down all the information in ways that are much easier to follow than just reading words. So the first bit of constructive criticism, the first one is that it's simple and it's for beginners. So it's missing a little bit of information, kind of incomplete. There's a few specific vegetables that are missing from their glossary. Not a big deal. You can reference it from the internet or go to another book, but it's just not in this one. This book may not be ideal for seasoned gardening experts. There are other books that may be better suited for you if you already know what you're doing, but this is my first book review, so I picked a book that's going to be simple and easy to follow for beginning gardeners. If you want one that's more advanced, subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing more book reviews throughout this winter, and I'll cover some vegetable gardening books that are for more seasoned experts a little later on this winter. It covers a very wide area. It goes all the way from USDA hardiness zones 3 up to 7, which is a very wide scope of an area for a book that's supposed to be so specific to regions. They do a very good job of trying to break it down into each zone, but you are constantly referring to the charts. And the problem I personally had, and this is a personal experience, it may not be an issue for other readers, but for me personally, I live in a spot that's technically considered zone 5, but we have little microclimates all over the place that are zone 4. So I usually plan my gardens to be zone 4, then I don't have any disappointments. Yay. So all of the zone charts in here that so clearly spell out timings and when you should do what and all that stuff, they're all broken up into 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And so if I'm somewhere between a 4 and a 5, which chart do I look at? Okay. They also try to clarify which zone you're in with their map in the beginning, which does help a lot. It considers me and my area to be clearly a zone 5, where I'm really not when you consider microclimates. The last con I want to talk about is something very specific in this book, and they are actual errors in the print. So on page 33, it says that insecticidal soaps do not harm beneficial insects, which this is not true. They absolutely will harm beneficial insects, because insecticidal soaps work by making a film over the bug's face. They can't breathe. Any insect that can't breathe through that film will die. The next thing it says, again on the same page, is it says diatomaceous earth is safe, which is true mostly, unless you breathe it. Then it's absolutely not true. It can tear up your lungs, it can do terrible things to you, so you have to be really careful when using diatomaceous earth to not breathe it. So I just wanted to be really clear about those points on this page 33 in the book. The last thing is, between the two books, the Pacific Northwest book didn't have pest management at all. So there is a little bit of a difference in between the different books. I really did enjoy the pest management section in the Mountain States book. It was just those two little errors that I picked up on. Last thing I want to talk about really briefly is about Timber Press specifically. I want to say that they have a beautiful website, and they have a lot of fabulous looking books that I will be buying quite a few of very soon to be expanding my own collection. And I put a link in the description below to their website, as well as all 7 of the editions of these books. So click the link below to get your copy of this book today. Thank you so much for listening. I truly hope that this book serves you well, as it did for me. And I hope you have a wonderful, warm, and safe winter. See you in the garden.